All right, today we are diving into a huge legal case, a real landmark decision that sits right at that fascinating crossroads of music and law. And believe me, this ruling sent shockwaves all through the entertainment industry.
And it all kicked off with this one line right here. Seriously, just 7 words from Kendrick Lamar's absolute monster of a track, Not Like Us. One of the biggest, most awarded songs of 2024. But this single lyric? It was enough to spark a massive, high-stakes defamation lawsuit from superstar Drake.
Now, when you first hear that, it sounds like a pretty direct, pretty damaging accusation, right? So how in the world is this not defamation? I mean, how did the legal system look at this and come to a completely different conclusion? That's the really fascinating question we're going to dig into.
Because, in a move that honestly shocked a lot of people, a federal judge just threw Drake's entire lawsuit out. So let's break down the legal thinking behind that decision and, maybe more importantly, what it means for artists everywhere.
Okay, so to really get why the judge ruled this way, we first have to zoom out. You got to understand the world this song was born into. See, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was a major moment in a very public and very heated artistic battle.
And look, the judge's own words really set the stage for this whole thing. She pointed out that this wasn't just some random song. No, it was a shot fired in what she called perhaps the most infamous rap battle in the genre's history. And trust me, that context, it turns out to be absolutely everything.
And man, that context was intense. All through 2024, Drake and Kendrick were just trading these diss tracks back and forth, songs made specifically to tear down another artist. It created this huge public arena for their feud. And Not Like Us, that was the knockout punch. It completely took over the charts and even snagged some major awards.
So that's the setup. But how does a rap battle turn into a federal lawsuit? Let's take a look at what Drake was actually claiming, and what he said was on the line when he decided to sue Universal Music Group, who, by the way, is the record label for both of them.
And this was no small thing. The lawsuit was dead serious. Drake argued that the song basically branded him a sex offender, and that this just wrecked his reputation and did real damage to his brand. But here's the crucial part. He also claimed it led to actual, real-world harm. He pointed to attempted break-ins and even a shooting at his home in Toronto, the very same home, by the way, that was on the cover art for the song.
Okay, this brings us to the absolute heart of the legal argument. The entire case, the whole thing, really boiled down to one of the most basic but crucial distinctions in all of defamation law. See, for something to legally count as defamation, it can't just be a nasty insult. It has to be a false statement of fact that causes actual damage. The magic words there, the ones that matter most, statement of fact. Here's a super simple way to think about it. If I say water is H2O, well, that's a fact, right? We can prove it. But if I say water is the best drink, that's just my opinion. You can't prove it true or false. And in the eyes of the law, that difference is like a giant brick wall.
So this was the big question that landed on Judge Jeanette A. Vargas's desk. She had to figure this out. Would a reasonable listener, someone who gets the whole context, hear those lyrics and think, oh, this is a factual report about Drake?
And her answer was pretty clear. The judge basically said, look, given the whole context of this crazy, heated rap battle, with all this over-the-top language flying from both sides, a reasonable person just isn't going to take these lyrics as literal, provable facts. That context, the feud itself, was the absolute deciding factor.
So, what's the bottom line here? The court decided the lyrics were protected speech. Basically, in the wild, fiery context of an artistic diss track, the words weren't seen as a news report, they were seen as opinion and what's called hyperbole. That extreme exaggeration that's just part of the art form and isn't meant to be taken literally. Now, this ruling isn't just about Drake and Kendrick. Not at all. Its impact is way bigger than just this one feud. It sets a really powerful precedent for art, for free speech, and for the law. Right after they won, Universal Music Group put out a statement, and they framed this as a huge win for creative freedom. They basically said the lawsuit itself was an attack on the right of all artists to express themselves.
What this ruling does is it really reinforces just how high the legal bar is for an artist's lyrics to be considered defamation. It's a powerful statement that context is king, and that the law gives a ton of breathing room for artistic expression, even when it gets really, really offensive.
When you get right down to it, this case is a perfect snapshot of this constant tug-of-war we have in our culture. On one side, you have the need to protect someone's reputation. On the other, you have the fundamental right for an artist to create, to be provocative, and to push boundaries.
And all of this leaves us with a really big, thought-provoking question, doesn't it? In an era where everyone is under a microscope and a piece of art can circle the globe in seconds, where do we draw the line? How do we decide when art goes too far? This case gives us one answer, for sure. But the debate? Oh, it's far from over.